All right, welcome to The Explainer, the show where we break down really big ideas. And today, oh man, today we're tackling a question that seriously blurs the line between science fiction and, well, reality. Is our entire universe just an elaborate computer simulation? So let's just jump right in. We're going to start with a pretty wild question from none other than Elon Musk. He was asked what he would ask a future superintelligent AI, and his first question wasn't about solving world hunger or the secrets of the cosmos. It was, what's outside the simulation? This one question perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to explore. So what exactly is this theory? Well, to put it simply, the idea is that our entire world, everything you see, everything you touch, even the fundamental laws of physics themselves, might just be lines of code. All of it running on some unbelievably powerful cosmic computer. Okay, so you might be thinking, this sounds like something straight out of a movie. And yeah, it does. But to get why so many smart people take it seriously, we need to look at something we all get: video games. This is really the launching point for the whole argument. I mean, just look at this trajectory. It's insane, right? In just a handful of decades, we went from, Pong? Two little rectangles and a dot, to virtual reality worlds that are getting so realistic they can completely fool our senses. The rate of progress is just staggering. So that's the big question, isn't it? If we've come this far in just 50-odd years, what could a civilization that's thousands or even millions of years ahead of us create? The argument is that it's not just possible, it's almost inevitable that someone, somewhere, would create simulations that are totally indistinguishable from what we call real life. And you know we wouldn't stop at just one, right? No way. An advanced civilization could probably run billions of these simulations all at the same time. Maybe they're for studying history, maybe it's for entertainment, or maybe it's for reasons we can't even begin to wrap our heads around. So this is where it all comes down to a simple game of odds. Let's say you've got one base reality, the original, real universe, and then you have billions of simulated realities. Which one are you more likely to be in? Statistically speaking, the odds are just overwhelmingly stacked against us being in that one original world. Now, this whole idea isn't just something a tech billionaire dreamed up. Let's look at how a philosopher built on this. Nick Bostrom formalized this entire line of thinking way back in 2003 with what's known as the simulation argument, or the Bostrom trilemma. So Bostrom basically said, look, there are only three possibilities here, and one of them has to be true. Option one: civilizations like us always go extinct before they get powerful enough to create these simulations. Option two: they get powerful enough, but for some reason, maybe it's unethical, maybe they just lose interest, they decide not to. Or option three: we are almost certainly living in one of those simulations. And this is the part that really makes you think. You have to ask yourself, do you really buy options 1 and 2? Does it seem likely that every single advanced civilization out there either dies off or just collectively decides, we're not going to do this? Given our own curiosity, that feels like a long shot. So if you start to doubt the first two, you're kind of forced, logically, into that third option. Okay, so that's the philosophical side, but now we're going to pivot, because this is where the theory goes from a cool thought experiment to something rooted in actual hard science. And trust me, this is where things get really, really weird. We're talking about the double slit experiment. All right, quick physics lesson, I promise it'll be painless. At the super, super tiny quantum level, stuff can act in two totally different ways. It can be a particle, a solid little object like a grain of sand, or it can act like a wave, which is more like a ripple of energy, a field of possibilities. The experiment itself is pretty straightforward. Imagine you're shooting tiny particles, electrons, at a wall that has two vertical slits in it. And behind that wall, there's a screen to catch them so you can see where they land. So what would you expect to see? Logically, you'd think you'd get two straight lines on the screen, right? One line for each slit. I mean, you're just shooting tiny pellets through two holes. Makes sense. Yeah, well, that is not what happened at all. Instead of two nice, neat lines, scientists saw this weird interference pattern, a whole bunch of lines. Now, this is the kind of pattern you only get when waves pass through two openings and interact with each other. So somehow, these tiny, solid particles were acting like waves. This is the part that drove physicists crazy. They thought, okay, this is bizarre. let's put a little detector right by the slits to actually watch and see which slit each electron goes through. They just wanted to see what was going on. And this is the absolute mind-bending kicker. The second they put a detector there to observe the electrons, they stopped acting like waves. They just went back to being normal little particles, and the pattern on the screen changed back to the two simple lines they expected all along. Just by looking at it, reality itself changed its behavior. So, what on earth could possibly explain that? How can the simple act of looking at something fundamentally change what it does? This is where the simulation theory comes roaring back with its most compelling and, honestly, its most creepy piece of evidence. Okay, look at this comparison. On one hand, you have quantum physics, where matter seems to exist as just a cloud of possibilities until you measure it. On the other hand, you have video games, where the game world only bothers to render or draw the stuff the player is actually looking at. Why? To save computing power. You know this from playing games, right? When you're staring at a big building in front of you, the game's code isn't wasting resources drawing the detailed alleyway that's behind your back. That stuff just doesn't exist in a solid form until you turn around to look at it. It's all about efficiency. So this leads to a pretty shocking conclusion, one that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but is a real interpretation of the experiment. The universe doesn't exist if we're not looking at it. The universe seems to only render reality when it's being observed. So why does any of this matter? Because the takeaway is absolutely huge. It suggests that our reality might not be this solid, constant thing that's always on. Instead, it might be generated on the fly, moment to moment, based entirely on observation. The very building blocks of our world behave exactly like an optimized computer program. And this, of course, leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If our reality needs an observer to snap into existence to become real, then who or what is the observer? Is it us? Is it something else entirely? That's the question that sits right at the very heart of the simulation hypothesis.